What's up, Internet? Welcome to On the Screen, the monthly podcast where we discuss a variety of topics revolving around the media we consume on a screen. I'm Tomato Man from YieldTomato Gaming on YouTube, and joining us this month is the Geek Scorpio from Gaming Theater Presents on YouTube.
Hi, everybody.
Zombie Hand, also from Gaming Theater Presents.
Hello.
And Yield Man, a longtime friend and gaming family man.
That's me.
And today, we are experiencing some sequel shock as we talk about Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6.
Ooh.
I played those, so I can say words.
Yeah, right? Now, I know that Chicho hasn't played extensively 6, but I know he has experience with it. And personally, me and him absolutely beat the ever-loving crap out of that game immediately upon its release. So,
I played 6 once, and I have played the shit out of 5.
rightfully so.
I'm
It's
with the
so
same
fun.
boat as Zombie Hand. Played the crud out of 5, but 6 I only did one playthrough, and then I stopped partway through, but I'll get to that later.
Right, so who wants to start with this? The concept here is that we're going to be discussing the reasons why we believe there was a divisive...
Ooh, I have opinions already.
right? Like,
Very much so.
why there was, a... Let's call it a tussle amongst fans and critics even. If you look at
Okay.
the Metacritic on some of these, for Resident Evil 5, you're looking at an average score of 84 from the critic and 75 from the fans, and then 6
Generally well received.
right, and rightfully so. But then you move on to 6, and we've got a score of 74 by the critic and 56 from the user. Now those are like
Okay.
the 10%, the 10 drop from the critic is like okay. You also don't have as wide of a range of critics on this too, mind you. 5 you have like 70 critic reviews, and then you have 34 for 6. And then when you look at
there's
the
a reason.
yeah, but then you look at the user review and it's radically skewed differently. You've got 1,400 on 6 and 800 on 5.
People had
No.
opinions.
Yeah, people had very strong words about 6, and I can see both sides of it personally.
Okay.
I have my own opinions about this game, about 6 and about 5, and I know that a lot of people would either think I am totally on point, and then there's also a lot of people who would think that I am a scrub and need to go die in a fire.
Yeah,
I
feel
have
like
opinions.
I feel like I'm gonna be like have a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but only for part of it. But Leo, you go ahead.
Okay, I think the best way to approach 5 and 6, because I have those opinions, is to understand sort of where they came from, specifically 4, and probably as far back as like 1, and just a quick synopsis of how those ones go. As I hear some judgment in the back.
I was gonna say, boy, I
No,
hear.
No, it's not judgment. It's just I have so many opinions that
Oh
I'm
my
like,
god, yeah.
I don't even know if I can not interrupt. So I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute myself so I don't do that.
So
Leo,
that-
go ahead.
Let's start by. Do we want to tackle this in like segments, like regarding story, gameplay, and characters, or do we want to just be like, well, this one just is better? Like, how do we want to?
So
Or do we want
I
to go
think we
game
do
by
it
game?
for. I think you need to go game by game, but you kind of, because of how 6 works out, you kind of have to understand where part of the series is coming from. Same with 5.
Yeah,
um,
it's an evolutionary thing for the series for sure.
Yeah, so like, let's take RE1, because most of the REs 1 through 3 and Code Veronica are all done roughly about the same style.
Mhm.
They're all the original survival horror games. Um, yeah, especially with RE1, you went into an area, in this case a mansion for RE1, or the city for RE2 and 3, and you were limited on supplies. You were limited, and you had to ration your weapons and gear. And keep in mind, this is one of the granddaddies of survival horror games, or at least the epitome of them. And you would travel through trying to solve a series of puzzles, and with slight jump scares coming at you, and probably some weird designed tank controls in order to allow you to run through the game. And there were a couple of boss fights through there that were really tough, but a lot of it has to deal with some of the management for it. Then you move on from that style of game into 4. Um, 4 I'd like somebody else to take a handle on, just because I haven't played enough of 4 to give it a good go.
Oh boy.
Just a quick jump.
So
A quick jump. There's a lot you can say about 4 because it's a
It-
pretty big game.
yeah, the thing to keep in mind too here is that this was broken down recently for me, and it makes a lot of sense when you consider this. When you look at the main numbered games, they're doing them in trilogies. You've got the true to form horror trilogy, which would be 1, 2, and 3. And then you've got the more recent games like 7, 8, and then most likely 9, which are going to be first-person horror experiences. And then you've also got the middle child, which is the 4, 5, and 6, which are very clearly action horror. Like, that is the forefront of these. And, I mean, Leo, you said you don't have as much experience with 4. I don't know what Liz's experience with 4 is, but I know that mine and YieldMan's is pretty extensive here.
So like 1 through 3, I beat it. Code Veronica didn't get a chance to play, unfortunately. And we don't count the spin-offs like for this purpose intent.
Oh no, because again, these are trilogies here.
Right. So 1 through 3 it was all designed as a survival horror type of game. Whereas 4 becomes radically more of an adventure type of gameplay. It's when the style radically changes for the gameplay.
Right.
And and it's a much more action-oriented game versus more of a survival horror. You have certain aspects that you didn't have before. For example, the knife was considered especially for new players, do not use the knife if you can avoid it because it did so little damage.
Yeah, the knife was crap in the original 3 games.
But on 4, on the other hand, melee was an option, and in certain spots you can get special like quick time kill events. I think that's what that was.
Yeah, there are quick kills that you can do, not necessarily with the knife, but they do have you can use those to trigger the events. Exactly, yeah, the suplex, and then you also had certain bosses that took insane modifier damage from the knife. So like the Krauser fight, you could literally destroy Krauser with the knife and like virtually take no damage.
Which had a picture of like the push A to suplex.
Oh god, yeah,
it's
one of the best ones. But
but my point being is that ammo wasn't a scarcity for as much as it was in the original one. If you didn't have enough ammo at all in RE1, there is a point where RE1 becomes nigh unbeatable. But
yeah.
RE1, 2, and 3 always had this sort of fight or flight system built into it. Was it worth it to more fight your way through that 1 or 2 zombies that are on there, or save so that way you don't have to deal with them as much, like in the Jill image that I have there, or was it better off to just avoid the fight and save your ammo for something better? Whereas in RE4, you pretty much fought everyone.
Yeah, the knife in the first
Not
3 games.
always true. Sorry.
No, you're not wrong. There's a lot of enemies you can just bypass. You can just run to the door and you're good.
Well, and like my sister and I played it together, and there were times when we literally had to like we got probably like a solid halfway through the game, and
Thank you, Chicho, for that awesome picture.
Hell yeah.
of Claire suplexing the shit out of Leon.
Sorry, did not mean to disrupt the train of thought.
That was
That's
perfect.
okay.
Close enough.
Hashtag
Um,
worth it.
So my sister and I, we got about halfway through the game, and we got to a point where we could not, like, we were out of ammo, or not out of ammo, but we didn't have enough ammo, and then we couldn't get past the next part no matter how many times we tried. And this was before we realized that you should have multiple saves.
Oh, save
So we
rotation.
had
Yep.
to, yeah,
Is
so
this
we
RE4
had to,
you're talking about?
yes, Leo. So we
Whoa.
had to, I'm sorry, I've been trying to get this thought out. And we had to go and completely restart the game.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we just didn't have enough ammo to go through it. So we ended up replaying it. Also, I replayed the beginning several times because that was my memory card corrupted
Oof.
the first few times.
Now, is this
and,
GameCube or PS2?
I'm sorry.
PS2.
Yep,
My
okay.
game, or it had been working perfectly, and then RE2 corrupted it and lost a lot of really good save data on there.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, that's when I learned multiple save files. So anyway, that was my sort of tangent about you didn't get, at least on like a normal difficulty, I guess, you didn't get so much ammo that you couldn't, or that you could fight everybody. Like you still had some ammo conservation that you had to do.
Oh, okay. But you played 1 through 3. Is it as bad as like 1 was, or some of the earlier?
No way.
No.
Yeah. In the more action-oriented series, they definitely front-loaded you with ammunition, because the idea was not so much to scare you in the effect of, oh, this is one enemy that's difficult to kill. It was more a matter of their strength in numbers, and you are very much outnumbered, and that thought alone is terrifying.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think that is a really good point, because I don't know, like in my adult years, I guess, I've kind of come to realize that I think that the real fear that comes from the like 0, 1, 2, 3 and Code Veronica really isn't like, it is like the numbers, you and your 5 bullets against how you don't even know how many zombies in this mansion, and then when you get down below into like the labs and stuff. Because I think if you were given a smidge more ammo, I don't think that the original ones would be all that scary. I mean, you've got the occasional jump scare,
Yeah.
but I don't really think it's not, and especially like, I mean, I think the remake, RE1 remake, has really good atmosphere, but like the OGs definitely show their age.
Yeah.
Oh
mean,
no!
the sad
That
truth
super
is,
scary, bright open area that nothing's happening in.
Oh yeah.
yeah, the sad truth is that a lot of the stuff in that era, without the tint of nostalgia goggles, are kind of hard to suggest to people today, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I feel better. Although I don't really ever feel like 3 OG or remake were actually that scary. I feel like that was actually kind of a little bit more in the action element.
Yes.
But that's why I feel better recommending the remakes, which is blasphemous because they're not the OGs, and I know that the OGs did things differently and to some degree better, like the Leon Claire AB scenarios. But they have really good atmosphere, they have really good gameplay, and I know people are like real mad about like the clock tower in 3 or whatever, but I'm also gonna put it out there. This is gonna be coming from somebody who has like zero nostalgia for the OG 3, but has played the shit out of the remake. So there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe I can't have much of an opinion on the OG 3 because I don't care about it. Blasphemy.
Yeah.
But yes, so 4 goes into a much more action-oriented system where the first 3 are done as a survival horror. And if you look at the original, polygons and type of art versus the more smoother remakes and such, different styles at the time. So then you move on to 5 and 6, and now we can explain where these ones, because 5 took some liberties and gave you it's so how do I want to say it? So to give you some things that you didn't have before. Probably the biggest change, 5 is co-op.
That's true, actually.
Mm-hmm.
5 and 6 were heavily pushing the multiplayer element, and 4 that was completely absent. But which I guess that makes this a little bit more of a like a fair comparison, because both of these games were designed with co-op in mind when you really take a look at it. I guess we can actually question that. Well, what do we think which one of these do we believe did the co-op better?
That's a rough call on that one.
I disagree, but it's because, and I'm gonna say it. I don't think very ill of 6. It's not my favorite by any stretch. Like I have some unpopular opinions about 6. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. Also, I think Leon's campaign, which everybody touts as like the one you should play, I think is the worst in the game.
That's the opinion I think you and I would probably have a very we might be button heads a bit on.
And I can understand it. And it's not because I hate Leon or whatever, and I actually he's one of obviously the best characters, but I just feel I think that Leon's campaign really lost me when you had to fight Simmons 15 times, and I was like, I hate this. But I also feel like it didn't really do the, I don't know. And again, I haven't played it literally since it came out, but I remember playing the game and just feeling very underwhelmed by Leon's campaign. I actually thought Jake and Sherry's was the best.
Interesting. That's a very interesting opinion to have.
Yeah, I just thought that it was a lot more fun. It was a lot more interesting. I liked Sherry as a character. I have mixed opinions about Jake. I think he's a fine character, but I do not like that they decided to make him Wesker's son, because what does that do? What is that? I get it, whatever. You killed my dad. Well, okay, Jake, now you're having a really weird emo moment. You never met your dad. Shut up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I actually think that their campaign was my favorite, and personally, in my opinion, I think the strongest. But going back to purely just the gameplay of the co-op, so 5, I think is the more fun game to play. I think that if I had to choose between 5 and 6, I'd probably pick 5 because I love Chris and Sheva. I love the setting. I love all of the levels. My cousin and I played the shit out of 5, so much. It's one of my favorites. But as with most sequels, I'm not going to lay a blanket statement and say all, but as with most sequels, you kind of learn from feedback what you can do better. And so a lot of people, I guess that's going to get a little tangential about moving while you shoot, but even then it's not even a fun move while you shoot. It's like a shuffle.
Yeah. Even when they did that in Outbreak, it was oh, you can move and shoot. Yeah, but no one's going to do it.
Yeah. But I feel 6 really integrated the co-op puzzles better, because in 5 there's no real segments where, outside of a few doors, that you have to have both Chris and Sheva to solve a puzzle. And there are times, I remember one with Leon and Helena where you enter I don't know, a mausoleum or some shit. I don't remember.
It's a church, I believe.
Yeah, and you have to do you have to use the laser sights on your guns and reflect them off of mirrors, but you have to communicate with your partner.
Yeah, you both have to do it.
Yeah, and I feel that was kind of it throughout the whole game, was it was a little bit more engaging. So whereas in 5, the most I ever had to do was tell my cousin, oh, can you come heal me, or or can I get some ammo or something like that. Like, that was kind of the extent of it. Or my cousin telling me to get out of the way while she did the um the sunlight mirror puzzle
Oh
in the
God,
crypts
yeah,
down below.
yeah.
And I, like, to be fair, my dumbass didn't know if the sunbeams were deadly. So I ran directly into one.
Yeah, I think we've all done
Died.
that at least once.
Yeah, it was very fun. We laughed about it, but my cousin was like, stand up on that platform over there. I'll
I
solve this. And so I think that was the only time as I like looked out at the puzzle and was like, oh, this one needs to reflect over here. This one needs to reflect over there. But I feel like 6 has the better co-op puzzles, and just like in general, you know, Capcom was able to kind of learn from where 5 faltered and was able to make it better. So that's my personal opinion. I think 6 did it better. No, not that laser puzzle.
I'm trying to find that laser puzzle that you're talking about because I've done it before.
It's very simple. It's a very simple
Yeah,
laser puzzle. I'll try to find it while Leo.
it's a sunlight puzzle. I think I actually burnt Chicho on that one at least once.
Oh no, I think he's looking for the one in 6.
Oh, and 6.
It's the one
okay.
in 6. Yeah. No, the one in 5. Yeah, you said what your price was before. So like puzzle wise, I think I'm in agreement with Liz. It's 6 felt better or more fluid with its co-op, I think is the better way to phrase it.
Yeah, and then also, like, kind of going off from that, the gameplay felt more fluid, especially with the finisher moves and being able to like continue shooting from the floor and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that action orientation is actually better than 5. But 5 is the funner of the two, at least for me. And that's sort of going to be from case to case. But for myself, 5 was just, it was really fun to go back to back or be able to like shoot around your partner if you understood how to do that. And the nice thing about it is like your less powerful weapons can end up becoming really powerful if you know how to cross aim like that. Well, on the same token, having to split and share your inventory got really frustrating sometimes, and to a point where, and this is for those out there who decided to play these games by themselves, single player, that was kind of a Sheva is not exactly the most upbeat AI that you can work with.
You just very quickly learn to not give Sheva any healing items.
Yeah, very quickly.
Or any weapon, except for the pistol, because that's all she'll use anyway.
Yeah. But give her a lot of ammo, because she will absolutely just toss you some ammo the second you need it.
Right.
I remember this being a discussion point for, and slight tangent, but for like Halo. Halo's multiplayer, especially in its co-op, wasn't so much multiplayer, but single player with another guy.
Right. Yeah, just another body is there.
Mm-hmm. You just carry bullets for me. We'll work on the details later.
Right. So, like, I know that you haven't played the entire game through co-op, Chicho, but what are your thoughts on 6s versus 5s?
I mean,
co-op.
Specifically the co-op function.
That's the thing. Like, I don't have much to say as far as co-op goes. I got some other opinions as far as like mechanics or like the
we'll get to mechanics and story and other things later.
Yeah, but I mean as far as co-op goes, I just first of all, just the thing that they have together is the fact that they have co-op, which I actually love.
Yeah.
I've always loved the idea of like having a partner with you in the survival horror setting. Now, obviously, 5 and 6 deviate from the survival horror aspect a little bit. It's a little more actiony, but
There's
nevertheless,
not a whole lot of survival or a whole lot of horror.
yeah, but nevertheless, you still get that, hey, we're in this together. We depend on each other to get through this, and that's what I love that component when it comes to like zombie survival horror.
Yeah.
Rather than being a lone wolf, I love the whole factor like, okay, we are a team, we are a unit, and we need each other to get through this. So,
yeah, I totally agree with you on that. it was one of those things that, like, the original games were definitely replayable. The way they were built, they were designed that multiple playthroughs got you multiple rewards. These games did also do that, but it was greatly incentivized by having, the ability to play with another person. And that really, really makes the game infinitely replayable, because you've got, everyone's going to have a different play style, different preference. So every scenario is going to play out a little bit differently.
True.
And I think that's actually, because of co-op being a major mechanic in the game, it's a good way for us to actually segue into the gameplay mechanics as a whole. Now, you started off by saying that you had more opinions regarding the overall mechanics of the game. I take it you have a strong preference one way or another, Chicho?
Yeah, well, and, honestly, maybe mechanics was the wrong word, but like the approach that they have for like weapons system.
I feel like you and I might agree on this, but I'd like to hear what you got.
Yeah, just I don't know. I just feel like, and I know we're not talking about 4 specifically, but when
We'll get to
4
that one in
introduced-
another video.
Yeah. So we all know about the weapon mechanics in 4, about like upgrades and whatnot. So I thought that was like the direction they were going with all future titles. Obviously, 5 very much simplified that, and then 6 like even more so. Like 5 was like, okay, it's tolerable. No, I don't like it as much as I did in 4. But hey, you know what? That's fine. It's another direction. It's a new title, whatever. But then 6 just kind of like watered that down even further, and I was like, oh, really?
Equip the ability.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. You just, like I said earlier, they deviated from the survival horror aspect, and I feel like the way they handled their weapons management and like ammunition and all that, it obviously reflected the fact that like this is like a run and gun type thing. Not quite. But
I
you
absolutely
get what I'm saying.
hated the gun swapping in 6. I feel like that might be a point of contention for some people, but 5 I felt was like the perfect way to handle the weapons in a co-op survival horror game, because you had, and it's actually reflected now in 7 and 8, where you can map them to your items to the D-pad, up, down, left, and right. That started with 5. And I thought that was brilliant. It was and it was a simple thing too. They don't even like heavily advertise it. It's like you have a block of 9 and the directions corresponding in the block, that's your quick access, and it worked really well, and it didn't feel cumbersome. In 6,
Yeah.
I often found myself flipping through the weapon I wanted, so I just looked like I was on a frickin' Rolodex.
Like, I put in a picture in there for what 5s look like, and I actually really liked it. And if I
Yeah.
recall, it's the top is up on your D-pad, and the bottom center like top center is up, bottom center is down.
Yeah, it's just
'Cause
like the
there's a
playout
way
of
right
how your
on
D-pad
there.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
So
could
click select.
Yeah, it was really simple, and it worked really well. And you could do the same thing with your healing items or ammunition, and you could just go up to your partner and just like click it, and you just give it to them. And I thought that was a great way to just be like, oh, I picked this up and I don't need it. Well, I can quickly maneuver it over, run over to them, and it's like, okay, you have this gun here, and they don't have to do anything. They have their ammo now.
I also feel like there was I know I said that it's not very much survival and not very much horror, but I feel like having such a limited inventory did give it a little bit of that survival aspect, because
Yes.
you're overloaded with ammo, but you still only have 9 slots. So do you take this ammo? Do you take this gun into the next level with you? Do you
What about
have
that
some
herd?
healing items? Yeah, like what do you do? What do you bypass? What do you decide to keep? And so it kind of became another game of like shuffling the inventory.
Yeah, it was like a nice little mix of, you had the attaché kind of element here, as you can see from, or maybe even not see, depending on how you're experiencing this, from like the inventory system from 4 is kind of the group inventory almost here, but you've also got the constrictions that you had out of the original games, to a much lesser degree, of course, but you kind of
Yeah, you
have
might want to zoom in that picture, but I got you 4 and show you the difference between the two.
yeah. See, no,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm that guy. It's like, give me
love
the eggs.
attaché case.
Give me the egg, and I will throw it at you. That's one of my favorite achievements in 5 is killing an enemy with an egg, with a rotten egg.
I love the attaché case so much, and I'm
Yeah.
so glad they brought it back in 8.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a simp for it. But speaking of, they took the best element out of 5, the weapon swapping, and put
Oh,
it
yeah.
into 8 with it. So you've got the best of 4 with the attaché case, and the best of 5 with the weapon D-pad. So, I mean, it's Capcom's paying attention here. Like they're trying new things with both these titles. They tried new things, and they realized what didn't work and what did. The Rolodex from Hell of Weaponry did not work. So
Also-
they threw that away.
I do have some I do have 2 points that are a little bit like it's more in line with Capcom paying attention than like any specific thing we've been talking about. So oh gosh, what was the second one? Hang on. So the Rolodex
I'm
Oh,
trying to
God.
find an image of the Rolodex weapon. Like I remember it, but
Oh.
it's,
Oh, find a
Okay.
GIF even, man. I mean,
Okay.
that's just like
So
it's like a flip book.
in oh my god, I keep having it. I
then you-
lose it every time I start.
You pick it up and you drop
So
it.
okay, I'm gonna pick up the one that I can. So Capcom, so people got really mad at 6 because it tried to be too many things. Like Chris's was more of like the Call of Duty-ish campaign, and Leon's was the survival horror, and Jake and Sherry's was whatever theirs was. And
Discount bin Nemesis.
so somebody had mentioned that the reception for 4 is more action oriented. Like, yes, there are definitely still some survival elements to it, and there's some creepy moments. I hesitate to call it horror personally, because I don't think it's outside of like the regenerators, I don't think the game is actually like that scary. I think it's more like suspenseful.
Yes.
But so 4 was more on the action side, and 4 like rejuvenated the series. It got new people in. The people, like the old fans, loved it, so they were like, okay, that worked, let's continue with that. So then the natural evolution was 5, which was more action oriented, because they like, what choice did they have when they went more action oriented? So and this is kind of like I think with Code Veronica, like, yes, a lot of people love Code Veronica, but the formula was getting a little bit stale. You know, when your gameplay and your mechanics and everything that you have between 1, 2, 3 and Code Veronica, and then even like to a degree 0, they didn't really revolutionize much. They did do I mean, and they were changing things along the way, but they were very much staying in the same vein with the previous game.
They were playing
so
relatively
with-
safe.
Yeah, so with 4, they tried something completely new. They did, they took a lot of time, and they came up with something completely new, and they got incredible feedback from it. It brought in new people. It made older fans love it. Like, it was incredible. So in their eyes, the biggest change that they had was making it more action oriented. So the logical progression is to continue that step. So 5 is more action oriented and less scary. And so, 4 had enemies dropping ammo. Well, now so does 5. And 4 had I don't know, like, I guess it's just a little more like QTEs and like the suplexing and whatever. And so that's what 5 has. So, and 5 sold well. Of course, at the time it was very controversial. People were like, it's weird because I feel like in hindsight, people like 5 a lot more now than they did when it came out.
I kind of agree with you on that, which is really
Yeah,
weird.
so, well, 5, what else could they take? So 5, it still sold really, really well. And then after the initial wave of negativity passed, people were like, actually, maybe we were too hard on it. Like, this is actually, like, really fun. So what else were they gonna do but continue the trend? And like, so they took what they took what they did with 5 and they made it better. I mean, to a degree, again, like
It's all depending on which aspect you're looking at.
yeah. Well, I mean, weapons Rolodex aside, but like, they brought back some fan favorite characters.
Hmm.
They took the shooting mechanics and were like, well, let's, people like being able to move and shoot at the same time. That's, really big in other game series that are out now. So let's include that. I don't feel like that worked very well, but whatever. But they, and then they did pick up and made it more like, I think that they were listening to like, oh, we really like the action side, but then there were people who were like, oh, I'd like it if it was a little bit scarier. So they tried to do it all at once, and it ended up having a bit of an identity crisis. But I feel like they kind of had no, like, listening to the fans, this was the logical progression. And then it wasn't until 6 got such backlash that they were like, oh, well, we alienated the horror fans. And even the action fans, like, they thought it was fine, but we're trying to do too much, and let's dial that back. And they made 7, which was a really smart move in my opinion. But
yes, I agree. So, I was one of the people who was totally on board for the first person perspective. Yeah,
it says Resident Evil in the title, and I'm like, all right, Capcom, here's my money. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, it's like, shut up and take my money.
Yes, I am Fry in that moment.
All right, I got a question for you guys.
Oh, let's hear it, man.
Okay, I want everybody's input. No cheating. Of course, I kind of cheated because I looked, but which one sold more?
Of what, 5 or 6?
Yeah, which one do you think sold more?
Okay.
I'm gonna put my money on, like, overall or opening.
I'm gonna put my money on.
Oh my gosh. Are we looking at like early
I don't
sales?
know what the timeline is.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is for early sales.
So I'm gonna put my money on 5.
I feel like 6 probably sold better.
Oh, so this is the thing though, is I don't think 5 had a demo and 6 did, and
no, they had a demo. I played the hell out of the demo.
6's demo was Chris's campaign though, which a lot of people say is one of the worst campaigns. And I know this because I played that demo at San Diego Comic-Con, and I remember being mad because it wouldn't let me invert my y-axis.
Okay,
because
so
it was a timed 30-minute demo, and so I feel like 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna
let me
redact
give you
it.
some more info to see if this like changes your mind at all. So, Resident Evil 5 was announced in summer of 2005.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm sure you guys know, like, it took freaking forever. It didn't come out until the spring of 2009. Or wait, did I got that right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Because
Yeah,
I know it came out in 2009. I remember that much.
Remember? Because I was on spring break at school in Hawaii when that game came out, and my cousin and I spent every day of our spring break playing it. So you are right. It was April, I believe. April.
Yes.
Oh no, end of March. It was end of March
3.
2009.
I remember this because I drug you to Blockbuster in the middle of the night to go pick it up.
Yeah, see, like, I say that, and then, like, all of a sudden I was like, wait, that can't be right. I was already an adult then? I was a kid, but nope. That's right.
No.
Yep.
Still gonna say 5.
Yeah, I think 5 probably sold
6,
better.
But I'm purely basing mine off of the fact that the demo that was released for 6 was Chris's campaign.
Yeah, because
and
you
6
said
didn't
that,
have
I
as
believe
much
that's
time
the
to
case.
build up hype because 6 was announced at the beginning of 2012 and then was released later that year.
Yeah,
Oh,
it released in October of 2012, and it was announced,
true.
I believe. It might have only been announced during E3. Honestly, I think they were pulling it pretty tight.
So, I'll also let you know. So before I tell you which one sold better,
Tell us which one sold worse.
What a twist!
They both have sold better than any other Resident Evil game thus far.
Okay,
Including 2?
that's crazy.
They've sold more copies of 5 and 6 than they have Resident Evil 4.
Ooh,
And
that's
Resident Evil 7 and the original numbered ones too.
Wow.
And I know Resident Evil 2 remake had a big hype too, but they've sold more than those two. Of course, the remake hasn't been out as long, but
Yeah,
Right.
the fact that they beat out 4 though, that actually surprises me, seeing as how they port that to everything.
And
Yeah,
then 2 was ported
well,
to everything before that. So yeah.
Yeah.
5 and 6 are on like every. I mean, so is 4. 4 has been imported or been ported over like 15 times, but 5 and 6 have also.
4 is on your phone.
Wait, they did an iOS or
Yeah, they
Android
super
port?
did.
Well, I'm downloading that when we're done. Okay, so yeah, Resident Evil 5 came out on top.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
What's the difference? I'm curious on that.
So Resident Evil 5, 13.4 million copies.
This is lifetime sales then. Okay.
Yeah. Resident Evil 6 was 11.6.
Okay. So I
Damn.
do remember that Resident Evil 6 failed to hit their launch window sales numbers by an aggressive margin.
I blame the demo.
So that's a funny thing. It is the demo. There was
They should have done Leon's campaign.
Yes.
If they had demoed
Mhm.
Leon's campaign, would have sold out the roof.
yeah. So
People
I
are
remembered
such
this.
sluts for Leon.
Oh, me too. I remember
You're
actually.
people.
I am peoples. I remember reading into this a little bit that ultimately what it came down to was the demo that they had put out for 5 was actually a co-op demo of the executioner section, the early part in Africa, and that
Yeah.
one
That's such a fun part.
yeah, that sold the game, I promise you. But then the demo for 6 was like basically hated by everyone. They're like, this is a horrible demo. This is not what we want to see out of this. And I believe Capcom does directly blame that demo for the sales issues they had, because the marketing for 6 was spot on. The way that they were like showcasing things, they were really pushing the horror theming, which 5 was kind of lacking overall,
Right.
even though their marketing campaign was live action fear, which worked really well. Like the live action like promotions and everything for 5 were amazing. Like everything about what they did with 5's marketing was spot on too, but it didn't deliver the horror element in the actual game. You did get the horror theming out of 6 at least, but the demo just killed it. Which is really
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Which seems
I-
weird because the demo for 4 was just like 5, the beginning of the game.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about that. Even like on like kiosk demos, like people think that demos really they don't do anything, but they do a lot. They can do an absolute lot, and it's thinking about it now, they really can't do anything now because everything that's released is not finished. So
Do you remember this? Sorry, I'm gonna bring up 2 other demos. The Final Fantasy VIII demo
yes,
that has Renoa in the Dalit mission, even though you don't get Renoa. Her name's not even mentioned prior to Dalit.
yeah, I do remember this because you have her and she has Leviathan as a GF.
And also, if you talk to her, because she's not actually in that part of the game, when, like in the real game, she's not there. If you tried talking to her, all she said was ...
Ellipses for the win.
Ellipses. And then I remember this was a huge fiasco. So when Prey 2 came out, there was no demo, and people were like, "Oh, I think that it'd be really cool if you released a demo so we can kind of get a gameplay thing." And the guy, one of the producers, or I don't remember exactly, but it was somebody who worked on the project and was pretty high up, said something like, so on Steam, if you play a game for less than 2 hours, and within 30 days, you can return it for a full refund.
Oh no.
And the guy was like, he was like, well, the Steam refund is basically like a demo, so just go do that. And it's like, dude, some people can't shell out $60.
That is
You know,
not the thing to say.
no. Oh god, I remember that fiasco. Anyway, I just had to
That
tangent on
sounds
that
I'm
one.
not
almost as
certain
bad
if
as
that
like
is-
the Blizzard announcement for Diablo.
Uh-oh.
You all have phones,
Yeah.
right?
Guys have phones.
I think
Oh,
the
God.
worst demo I've had to deal with is the Beautiful Joe demo back in the day.
geez.
Because if you had the Beautiful Joe demo,
Henshin
there
a
was a
go-go, baby.
corruption. Well, there was a corruption glitch in it where if you had that demo and you had your memory card plugged in,
It
it would
corrupted the
corrupt your
whole
memory
thing.
card.
Yep.
No.
I
The
think I
memory
have.
card?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
So,
wipe the memory card.
so I actually think I have that demo disc in my closet, and I think that's the only reason I
Don't
kept
ever
it.
use it.
And that's the thing. So if your memory card is in when you boot the demo disc, is when it actually will corrupt the data on your card. Is if I'm remembering this right.
Yeah,
So
it
you
was
can put
something
the
that is
memory card
almost
in later while the disc is running, and you'll be fine. It's just something in the boot sequence just wrecks your card.
that's so horrible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, but yeah, I think the demo did. From the way it sounds like, yeah, the demo is what helped, like, unsold, I guess is the word. RE6 for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I remember playing that demo at San Diego Comic-Con, and I just remember. So because it was a timed demo, you get 30 minutes with it.
Mhm.
30 minutes or until you get to the stopping point.
Right.
I remember they were like, we want you to play the game, not be messing around in the settings, but because they wouldn't let me invert my y-axis, which is very difficult for me to play a game if I can't invert my y-axis. I struggled a lot with that demo, and I actually left. I didn't even care about that fight in the demo that was going on because I was so mad at my controller. And that was actually what turned me off of the demo.
That's not the reason why
That's
it hurt the sales, but I'll take it.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of what exactly hurt the sales, but that was why I was frustrated at it. I didn't even get to really experience the demo
Yeah.
because I was running around. I had to just be like, okay, I hope Chris doesn't look up or down because he's gonna look further up or further down depending on what's going on.
You're
'Cause
looking at the floor.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking at the floor or at the sky.
Man.
But I do remember that demo, and I remember, like, especially in hindsight, knowing that Chris's campaign is one of the ones that people like the least. It's like, yeah, I can see how that hurt the sales of the game.
Yeah. So I want to take us down the road of it's not going to necessarily be content, but it is content as odd as that sounds.
I think I know what you're going to talk about.
That's good because I don't.
Resident Evil 5 was very nicely balanced in terms of its overall content, whereas 6 was very bloated, and it, as a lot of people say, it didn't know what it wanted to do with itself. I find that
100%.
6 is relatively forgettable, and I think a part of that's because it doesn't actually advance the series plot.
Hey, I agree.
Because when you look at this, you can play 5 and you get all kinds of stuff that involves like the lore of Spencer, the founding of the progenitor virus, and all this stuff. But Ouroboros,
Complete global
complete
saturation.
global saturation. But then you get 6, where there's a bunch of stuff happening everywhere. We really don't know why or who or what's going on. And hey, what do you know? Black market. And then suddenly I'm flying to China and the big smelly titty monster's gonna kill me. Yeah, there's like, you have a lot of character, as in a lot of characters, but you don't get any progression to the plot. You have a lot of set pieces, a lot of big, explosive, moments of destruction or unique enemies. Like the thing I liked the most about, I think, like you hate the Simmons. You like to bring up Simmons and hate on him, but I love the fact that he's just a Parasite Eve monster at the end.
Where's our Parasite Eve remake?
It's called The Third Birthday, and no one bought it.
Hey,
I know.
I
bought
said,
it.
where's our Parasite Eve remake? Also, I have a copy too.
Yeah, we can hate on it all we want. We still own it.
I don't
Oh.
like The Third Birthday at all.
No comment, because I haven't played it. I think the gameplay is probably fine, but the story I know is garbage.
Hey, there you go. Perfect. That's
Yeah.
actually the best way to put it. Anyway, back on.
Yeah. So 6, they added some new characters. I was like, they have some decent depth. They have some decent backgrowth on the characters that you're playing. But the greater overarching everything, there is nothing on. Unlike 5.
Yes, you get a lot of really good background. Like you had said about like Spencer and the progenitor virus, and like, yeah, like you get a lot of really good like background on the
Lore building.
story.
You get lore building.
Lore building, yeah. But like it's almost like 6 tried to be like a character piece in a series that doesn't really do character pieces. And my gosh, I swear I'm just losing every train of thought that I have today. We might have to come back to me because I was gonna go somewhere by reiterating what you said, and then it was just mostly about like Chris's amnesia and being an alcoholic. Like none of that went anywhere.
And it's thrown further out the window with Vendetta, because him and Leon have a total personality flip in that movie.
See, like I feel like
that's why I say it doesn't make sense, because like you have alcoholic angry Chris in Resident Evil 6 and upbeat I'm gonna do the duty Leon in 6, and then you have the direct sequel to 6, which is Resident Evil Vendetta, the movie, and then you have Chris of Duty and Drunken Leon. It's like, okay, hold on. Why are you guys flip-flopped here? Like,
and I feel like it's a more logical progression for Leon's character, because
I will agree with that.
like Chris, yeah, they have, I mean, they both have gone through a lot of shit, but like part of it is that Chris chose to stay in the bioterrorism game. Like he was the one that was like, I'm gonna take down Umbrella. I'm gonna found the BSAA with my best friend Jill. I'm gonna keep trying. Anywhere that I need to be, I will be there. After the events of 2, Leon was essentially forced to work for the government.
Oh yeah, he was
They
kidnapped.
held Sherry. Yeah,
he was just kidnapped.
They held Sherry ransom essentially, and even then they held her captive too. They kidnapped her. But they made Leon work for them. So Leon, all of his like sarcasm and all of his jokes and all of him like kind of just like
him being a wise ass is kind of him.
It's kind of like the only way he can fight back against what he's been forced to do. Like even the way, like, you obviously know he respects Hunnigan, but like even the shit he says to her about the job, she's like, Leon, could you just do this? And he's like, just wise ass, just absolutely just like, I don't know, he's not allowed to get out of the game unless he dies.
Yeah,
And
just now picture, hey Leon, can we just get through this? I'm Leon, I get do this. That's exactly what you sound like. I just want to.
Yeah,
my
it
name's
does.
Leon, and I'm blah blah blah. And yeah,
It
like
makes a heck of a lot more sense too when you consider the fact that in the backstory for Chris in the first game, he had military experience.
yes, he was
So-
in, I think, the Air Force, right?
Yes, he was discharged
Yes.
because he disliked the nasty comments said by a superior officer.
Chris, grow some thicker skin, Chris.
I think he disobeyed orders because they were against a moral code or something, is what the actual official backstory is.
So him and Billy have more in common than.
Yeah, well, Billy's the smartest man out there. He got the fuck out.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, I feel like honestly, 6's like Chris being an alcoholic should absolutely have gone to Leon because it makes more sense to him.
In his character, for
Even
sure.
yeah, even this many years in the future, like when Vendetta takes place, I'm pretty sure he is still a government agent. Like I don't think
Yeah.
he can get out. So
Yeah, that's the argument is, yeah, he's like, I'm on vacation right now kind of thing. And Chris
drinking
is like,
away in Colorado.
yeah, and Chris is like, I don't like that answer.
Yeah.
But I think you've hit the nail on the head on this one. 5 was designed it was similar to the original games, which RE has been about its mystery.
Yeah.
What's going on in there? What's happening? Like,
Oh, for a second, I thought you were talking about like the gameplay, and I was like, I thought we disproved that. Though.
Yeah. No, yeah. 5's whole story element is about the world you can't see, whereas 6 is all about only what you can see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 6 is designed more after thinking about it. Yeah, 6 is designed like a character piece. The storyline for Resident Evil doesn't work well if it's entirely on a character piece.
Yeah.
You're not in the game to find out how Leon's doing with his relationship troubles. You're in the game because Leon's an officer who's got to deal with the bioweapon terrorism that's happening, and he's just sort of caught into it. You're not here to find out about Chris's mental struggles on it. That's just sort of a backdrop. But you are in here to find out Chris's struggle against the Umbrella Corporation, where he's basically a guy trying to go up a one-man army against a corporation and see how far he can get.
Yeah, almost like the faceless evil.
Yeah,
I think that they have done really well, with the exception of like 6, at giving us very enjoyable and likable characters along the way.
That's a good mod.
And like I am like, you know, I am invested in, you know, what Leon, like who he keeps in touch with, and every time he mentions Claire, I'm like, ah! You know, or like in Code Veronica when Claire mentioned like it's emailing Leon so that, you know, to get an
Get in touch
a
with my
message
brother.
to Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh yeah.
like
Whenever you hear about that little email, I'm like, yay!
yeah. I like that stuff, and like I appreciated like Sheva's personal struggle in what was going on in Africa, and you know those things, you know, as they happen, like I am invested in those, but I'm not solely invested in those. I want to know about the new strains of viruses. I want to know about the fight against Umbrella and Tricell and all the other Will Pharma, and all the ones that Umbrella has bought out, or you know that Umbrella is secretly working for, or whatever. Like I am invested in that, and I think, without spoiling it, I think 8 actually does a phenomenal job at like adding to that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I think there's a lot of interesting elements that are going to be taking place in the future of these games.
Oh yeah.
Now, let's see here. Where do we want to go from here on this for 6?
So we've touched on the
5?
character the character designs for it. We've touched on the mechanics briefly. I think we can go back to the rest of the mechanics for that. And we've touched on their on the co-op and how they designed them differently. I think one thing we kind of want to touch on is I want to say atmosphere, but I think that's not the best word.
I don't feel like either of them have really good atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think they do what needs to be done. I think 5 does what needs to be done because it is still engaging and it is interesting, but the atmosphere fits what story they're telling and the gameplay pushes. So, you know, like it's not very scary, but I also have I never have an ammo shortage, and like I don't know, I feel like it fits.
Yeah.
So I think we should just approach the elephant in the room on this one and talk about the story of how 5 and 6 work.
6 has a story?
Yeah, you see the
it has supposedly it has 4.
Listen, I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I literally have not played 6 since 2012. I don't remember anything about it.
I have played it since 2012, and I can tell you that that's kind of why I brought up the point about continuing the plot because there is no continuation. Like, it's literally like this is just an event that occurred, and during this event that occurred, here's what these four characters were doing. It does not at any point ever direct you really to a central story or plot. It's like, oh, Simmons wanted to get control of this, and brr, 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 brr. So okay, it's all Simmons, but like, why Simmons? Oh, he had a family ring. Okay, well, what's the relevance to this? Like, they don't actually give you any relevance to a cohesive growth of plot.
Yeah.
Like, each campaign is just, one person wants power. This is what's happening here. That's what it is. It's like Simmons wants power. Okay, we got to stop Simmons. And you go on with Chris's story. Well, what's Chris's story? It's like, I barely remember these things, and I've played it more recently. It's like, Chris, he just wants to find out amnesia. And then you've got
Jake
Sherry.
and Sherry.
Yeah, Jake and Sherry. Jake is like, I'm a mercenary, and Sherry was sent to find me. It's like, okay, why was she sent to find you? Why is China, like, holding you captive? Like, they do not explain this stuff. It's just like,
Your
things
Upper
happen.
Western son. Oh no.
Yeah, like, things happen, and they don't tell you what or why. It's just they happen. And in 5, you have the knowledge beforehand, and it builds in, and you get that proper, 3 acts. Whereas with every story, honestly, in 6, every single one of them, they all start in Act 2. So, like, you never get that build. You never get that learning of what's happening and understanding.
And,
like, the beginning of 6 is like, oh, I've shot the president. It's like, okay, how did you get to that point, Leon?
and it's not like they do it pretty well, like a lot of games. A lot of games in their design will do immediate res, so like in the middle. So that you start in the middle, you work your way backwards to explain what happened when you got to that point.
Yeah, it's just
Like,
they push you forward
both
through it.
And they're like, you start here at Act 2 in the middle. Oh, you shot the president? All right. Well, let's move on from here. That's not that important. You just...
Yeah, it's
sometimes a really good, like, you can get really good revelations based on, like, showcasing what happened at the beginning, but starting you in the middle. And if done well, that can work.
yeah.
Mhm.
Kill Bill.
Hades does a really good job of that. You start, and that's part of its gameplay and design. But for our Resident Evil 6, I don't know what I'm starting. It feels less like you're part of the middle of a plot and you're working to explore it. More like you just picked up this. Your friend gave you a game and a save file. You have to start from their save file.
That's kind of how it feels.
What? How did I get here? Yeah, you just keep. Forget it. I already played the first half of the game. You can just finish the rest. Oh, but you can't restart my data. Just keep going from there. That's why it felt kind of weird. Like you're playing half of a game from the middle, with no context.
Yeah.
So no
RE
Wikipedia.
Yeah, RE6 is like you went to a film festival and you just caught like these 4 little projects that are like, oh, okay, well, that's the thing.
Yeah, and they're all here. I don't know what they are, but they're here.
I watched them.
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, yeah, they're great, but yeah, like, okay, well, how about a feature-length movie?
Oh no,
I
we don't do
don't
those.
get it. Was the flower in that film supposed to be the harshness of man, or is it something with the environment? I think the flower was just a flower.
See, no, you didn't see it. The seed underneath.
Mm.
Yeah,
What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's where we're at with that. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess at this point the breakdown is like, what do we feel was the superior game, and why do we think that they faltered with the other one in comparison? Like, I feel that 5 overall is a overall better game, but I feel that 6 has a couple, and I mean a small couple things I think they did better. But
Can I tell you what 5 and 6 both did really, really well?
yes, please do.
Hang on. I gotta.
I
gotta
think you have
Google
a
it
weird
first.
tangent on 6. Oh, and this is more from an individual character point versus that. So like, 5, Sheva and Chris, for the most part, do about the same thing. You pick and choose how you go. In 6, I don't know why Jake was given the ability to have a hand-to-hand combat and no one else did.
That's true, huh?
Like,
Yeah.
Fair
yeah,
point.
Oh,
everyone else has to fight their way there. Oh, except for you, Jake. You can just punch your way across this whole place. You're good.
I think it was more of an homage to Wesker.
That was a terrible homage.
It was bad.
Give him. I would have taken sunglasses as an homage than that.
Nobody said it was good, Leo.
Then you must not have beaten his campaign then, because he got the sunglasses at the end.
Oh, I know he got the sunglasses. I meant from day one.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what Resident Evil 5 and 6 both did really, really well. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Chris's
Oh,
alternate costumes.
You know what? I will say that. So you know what? I'm gonna actually kind of go in on this, because I think that 5 did that better. And
I agree. I just really like
Yeah.
Chris's cool tattoo. Although he is like one stiff breeze away from exposing himself to the world
Yeah.
in that kimono.
But
you want to know what the best alternate Chris Redfield costume is?
RE1 Chris, or yeah, Sailor Chris. Yeah.
I actually have mods that put Carlos in the 3 remake and Leon in the 2 remake in that outfit.
Of course.
That's
you
a
do.
classy outfit.
Love it.
I think that the extra content across the board is strong in both, but I feel that 5 does it better because it's all integrated into the single player and it affects the cutscenes.
I feel, oh, you know what? That is where it did better than 4 because I am pulled right out of the immersion when Leon's in the mafia costume and then and then in the cutscenes he's back in his regular outfit. Like,
So,
I didn't do that.
I can tell you why it does that on the PS2.
Probably because it's pre-rendered FMVs.
It is
and
rendered
they just
FMV,
report them.
and in the GameCube version, it is real time. So if you're playing on the GameCube and you have the RPD outfit on Leon, that's in the cutscenes.
Oh, neat. Yeah, I know that they did have to like kind of compress some things for the PS2 release, but I had a PS2 and not a GameCube at the time, so
Yeah.
that's what I got it on.
It's totally understandable.
Yes. Also, I feel like I didn't play a whole lot of it in 6, but the mercenaries in 5
Was solid.
so fun.
Yeah.
So fun. Like just incredible.
At
Played a
one
ton of it.
point in the multiplayer versus mode, at one point I was ranked 49th on one of the maps.
Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, for online ranking.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I was very proud of that, and I lost it very quickly, I'm sure. But I would play as Stars Wesker, and I like exclusively played as him. And it might have something to do with the fact that this is around that same time, Chicho, that we had done that fan film. So I was riding high on Wesker vibes.
Were you a Wesker simp?
Were
Were you a Wesker apologist?
No. I played him in our in the fan film that Chicho and I made around the same time. I played Wesker, he played Chris. So when they had Stars Wesker as a playable character in the Versus multiplayer, I was all over that.
I remember that. Okay, so funny thing. So yeah, Brandon and I, well, Brandon did like 99% of the work. I just showed up and did my lines. But when we did our Resident Evil fan film thing, he had his Wesker outfit, and it was like freaking good. He put together a real nice Wesker outfit. Anyway, so he like reenacted the mercenary scenes. I mean, like, didn't you have Nick hold you down or like?
Oh yeah. So we did a couple of skits while we were in these outfits too, 'cause you were actually you and Carissa were both in at least one or two of them when we were at the recreation center when we rented that space for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, we the co-op and online versus stuff. Yeah, Nick was holding me, and I like did the lines for where if you're grappled in the mercenary or in the multiplayer mode, I delivered one of the lines that Wesker would do. Then freaking Chicho dressed as Chris went up and slapped him, and he let me go. And then because I would always do the press circle, and then you do the automated response for your co-op partner. So I was just reciting those lines. It's like, it was in your best interest to assist me. It was like his big line whenever someone would save him. He would just be like, yeah, no, you needed to do that. You didn't want to, but you had to.
Your
I'm just
assistance
putting it
is
out there.
required.
Your assistance is required. Yeah, DC Douglas did good deliveries in that game. Ah, man, but yeah, that was one of the things about 5 that I really enjoyed doing, was going through in all those different alternate costumes. And I was really upset with 6 when I found out that all those extra costumes, like Pirate Leon, which was dope as hell, mercenaries only. It's like,
Yeah.
but that's actually like the
Pirate
costumes in
Jill,
5.
though.
the costumes in 5 also, for at least me, they've inspired like challenge runs, because all of those costumes have specific loadouts in mercenaries mode. So like,
Oh.
you can do a mercenaries loadout run of 5. You've unlocked all the weapons. Now all you can do is use whatever they have in their inventory starting. Like, oh, you want to play as Tribal Sheva? Cool. Well, you can't mix herbs. You can only use green herbs and your bow and arrow. It's like, oh, okay. Well, oh, you're going to be Safari Chris? Cool. You get the second shotgun, the third pistol, and incendiary grenades, and first aid spray. Those are the only things you can use. It's like, okay.
I love Safari Chris so much.
Yeah, it's dope. But like, it's stuff like that. It's like, it encourages a little bit more of challenge to yourself as you play, because you can, well, and at least for me that was. But yeah, and then you've got but then you don't have Sailor Chris, Popeye Chris.
Sailor Chris is the best.
So what was everyone's preferred title here?
5.
Straight up 5. All right.
5 hands down.
Straight up 5.
Like, I stand by that. I don't think 6 is as bad as it's not like the worst game to exist. It's probably the worst Resident Evil game to exist. And even then, like, there are other games that are less playable. Like, yeah, there are other games in the series that are less playable. I think 6 is, if nothing else, fun.
Yeah. Of the numbered series, I'd say it's the weakest, though.
Yes, of the numbered ones, I would say it's the weakest. But if you are just, like, if it's the only game that you have, you're at least going to be in for a fun time. Like,
and there's a lot of it to have.
Yeah, and there's, like, it's a nice lengthy title. It's fun. Just don't go into it expecting a lot, like, content or like character or plot wise, because a lot of the character stuff doesn't even like to make sense. I stand by 6 is not as horrible as a lot of people make it out to be, but it is far from the best.
Yeah, if you take in any of the Resident Evil games in total, that 6 has made itself a couple of ways up there in comparison to other ones. Cough, Outbreak, cough.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think from what I've heard, Outbreak is, people love Outbreak.
I actually really enjoyed it.
See, yeah. I enjoyed it to a point until I ended up having to play the same exact level 16 times because nobody else wanted to play a different level. Because they were hard.
Hey, that sounds like me and Left 4 Dead. I play the apartments level all the time.
Because it's a great level.
It is a great level.
So that's obvious consensus. We all believe that 5 was the superior title. Now,
yes.
The next question is, we'll just go down the list. So it's going to be alphabetical, starting with Leo. What do you think hurt everyone's perception the most? Like, what do you think was the part that made 6 such a letdown for people?
Do I want the fan side of me, or do I want the logistical game design side of me?
Pick
Yes.
one.
Both.
Okay, so fan side, not having Chris and Leon in the same campaign.
I mean, they do
Okay,
overlap.
all
They do
right.
overlap.
No, they overlap for 5 seconds. Chris, hey, you're Chris. Hey, you're Leon, and we move on to the rest of our game.
Valid point.
No, just have them both in the same campaign. No, you can only play Chris in one campaign and Leon in a completely separate campaign. But I think for a gameplay mechanic wise, probably the most frustrating part of it is the fact that there was no consistency to it. Leon's campaign ended up being a traditional survival horror, but when you have to fight the same boss 17 times in a row, it got old fast.
So too repetitive, you feel.
For that one, and then all the other ones are just Jake and Sherry got Jake and Sherry things going on. Sherry apparently in the cutscene is where it can self-regenerate, but I've seen her go down 16 times when the enemies attack. Where's that regeneration? Jake can punch his way across America. There's just no consistency with these characters as you went, but you had like at least 7 of them that you could play through the game with. Yes, that's great.
If I can rebut something really quick,
Yeah.
so regenerative powers in a video game have to have some sort of caveat, because otherwise, why would I play the game? Like, I recognize that even though the 2008 Prince of Persia is one of my favorite games and you cannot die in it, I recognize that is one of the reasons people didn't like it. So that aside, if the character is going to have regenerative abilities, I think you have to keep in mind the idea that there is a certain amount of damage that they can take that will eventually be too much even for them.
Oh yeah, no, I understand that. It's but my point was like the inconsistency of it.
Like-
Instead of playing
Like
the
Jake
way
got
it's
something special, but like gameplay wise, but she did not.
Mhm.
Like
Or-
why wasn't there like, oh, instead of like, oh, he gets a bunch of really unique melee moves, why doesn't she just get like a dedicated stationary heal or something?
or something special for it, like all the other
Or, like, more-
6
More
There's 7
health or regenerating health or
or-
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
something to separate them apart. If one person gets something special, why not give everyone else something special?
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be the same thing, just that
Checks and balances
because
here.
checks and balances. Like I played it in the order from top to bottom, so when I got to Jake and realized I never needed to get ammo, that was like, all right, that's a whole new thing. Because I believe the punch does almost as much damage as like 3 shots from your pistol. It does a pretty good amount of hit for that. And I know it did way more damage than the knife.
Yeah.
But yeah, and each of those stages. But that's probably my big thing is there's no consistency against any of them, and they all just felt wrong, dirty. But that's mine.
All right. Well, for me, I think the biggest shock to the fans was just the simple lack of focus. Like much like what Leo said, there's no consistency, and it's because there was no focus. They wanted to make 4 different games, and they made it all into one, and it was too big. There was new elements for every character in every campaign, and there's just too much there for, like, I understand everyone wants content. You need to get your bang for your buck. Makes sense. But there was just way too much here, and there was nobody actually guiding the single line. It feels like each thing was its own, like it should not have been put together. And I think the lack of cohesion and the lack of a common goal and the lack of actual plot progression and lore building ultimately made this game fall flat in comparison to its predecessor, which did have lore building, did have some character growth and progression, though not nearly as much as they pushed into 6. Wasn't as long, but was, at least for the campaign, more replayable. And I think the radical shift from what they had in 5 to Michael Bay's set piece, the video game, is what really turned a lot of people off. And it, unfortunately, or I guess fortunately, directed Capcom to go back to the horror element with 7. So, yeah, the shock was just there was no focus. That's my thoughts on it. How about you, Chicho?
Yeah, I'd say that, spinning it in a positive light, maybe the fact that it departed so much from, like, the original games, like the atmosphere, the survival horror aspect of it, Capcom reached a turning point where, like, hey, why can't we complement the fact that, these consoles can push a lot of power compared to, like, the PS1. We can update the game, but we can still honor that survival horror aspect. And so we got, RE2 remake and RE3 and all that.
Ooh,
So,
yes.
because Resident Evil 6, really, I think what happened there is, at least I'm in one particular camp. I'm much more a fan of, like, the survival horror aspect, right? So it's like RE4 changed the game a little bit, and then RE5 pushed it a little further, but I still think you had your core audience that was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like, even though I want more of the challenge from, like, RE1 through 3, like, I'm okay with this. But, like, RE6 just seemed to depart so much further, and I think that, in tandem with all the other issues that you guys already brought up about, like, the inconsistency, like the different scenarios, how it just kind of felt not coherent. That just added fuel to the fire, so to speak.
All right. How about you, Mrs. Zombie Hand?
I feel like you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. It was a lot of the lack of cohesion between the campaigns, and it being, yeah, like we had talked about, a character piece in a series that has been a lore piece instead, with, like, character things along the way. And yeah, I mean, I think that's the to a degree the better gameplay mechanics. And I say it's to a degree that they're better, because there are some that we discussed aren't. I just feel like that couldn't do enough for it, which I appreciate, because it really did tell Capcom that they needed to dial things in a different direction. And we have 7 and now 8, which are phenomenal.
And even the remakes.
And the remakes, which 2 notes, one about the remakes and one about 6. So 6, actually, something that wasn't brought up, but in line with inconsistencies, is that even between the campaigns, the inventory screens and the way you switch weapons and such, different between all of them. So it's like,
That's true.
you get used to one, and then you have to get used to another, and then another, and then another. So that, and then another, because the fourth one.
No.
And then also before I go off on the remake one, it should have been Ada and Hunk. Like, let's be real. It shouldn't have been Ada and Soldier. That was
Yeah.
stupid.
Okay. Yeah.
But also, Leo had mentioned something about, or somebody had mentioned something about not being able to knife enemies or something like that, or like the knife doesn't do as much damage. So I have learned, because I love watching speed runs. So in Resident Evil 2, actually, the most damage per second weapon is the knife, but literally because the knife does damage based on frame rate rather than, like, swipe. So so in the speedrunning community, they had to come to a consensus to say, like, if you're gonna speed run Resident Evil 2 on PC, you have to lock your frame rate at 40 FPS or 80 FPS or something like that, to keep it an even playing field for everyone. Because otherwise, people that do, they attack William Birkin at 40 FPS are gonna obviously require more hits than somebody playing at 120 frames per second.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
because it's
That's-
all based on so the damage.
Frames.
Yeah, the damage is by frame. So if you're running it uncapped on a super PC, getting 120 frames, you're gonna literally rock the house with that knife. But if
Yeah.
you're running on a base PS4, you're getting 30 frames, and you're gonna have to keep swiping.
Yeah, and I thought that was a very interesting thing that I learned from a speedrunner. So there's actually, I mean, generally there's different categories based on what console you're playing on, but it was even more important for the Resident Evil 2 remake because of the knife.
Truth.
Anyway, that's it. Those were my thoughts and my feelings.
All right.
I believe someone once described it as in Resident Evil 5, you have a fairly long, but at least one game. In RE6, you have 1/10 of a game per scenario. So like 60% of a game.
That's fair. I mean, like I was saying, it feels like you start in the middle, you start in Act 2, and you never get that first act, and you go straight into Act 3. So, it's unfortunate, but I mean, were it not for that game, we wouldn't have gotten the more recent ones that I think we can all agree are absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, so
Agreed.
good.
Very much so.
7 is scary.
Right?
Like, in my opinion, I think 7 is the scariest one in the whole series.
Ah.
Oh, sorry, Ashley.
All right, well, thank you all for joining us today. Don't forget that you can check out a videocast version at youtube.com/YieldTomato. You'll also find links in the description there for all of our speakers here, with the exception of Yieldman. Hopefully you'll join us again for more of the magic that we all enjoy on the screen. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.